afternoon. My name is David Pilgrim, and welcome to Expect Diversity. Today we're here to talk about the recent presidential election and its impact on Ferris State University. We begin with having our guests introduce themselves.
My name is Robbie Ranke. I'm in the College of Business, and I'm chairman of College Republicans here on campus.
I'm Kelsey Schnell. I'm a political science minor.
Carnell Richardson. I'm the president of Access Fellowship Ministries on Ferris's campus.
Maybe we can start by you telling us, and this could go for either of the three of you, what did you do, or what was your reaction when you first heard the results of the election?
Well, I slept through the results. I actually worked all day on the election from 8 until 8, and then did a little homework and went to bed. I didn't figure the election results were going to come in as quickly as they did, so I caught up on some sleep, and I woke up in the morning obviously a little disappointed, but knew that I'd put in all the work that I could, and that's where I ended it.
Okay. Kelsey?
I made a couple of quick phone calls and text messages, some I told you so's, and I went back to doing homework.
I was jumping for joy that that Obama won, and actually at 9 o'clock there was a feeling that came over me, and I stood still, and somebody said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I don't know." And by 11 o'clock my phone was just ringing off the hook, but I was so stunned I couldn't even answer the phone. So I had a lot of voicemails on Wednesday.
Well, you say you were stunned. Didn't you think he was going to win?
Yes, but at a moment like that, you still have this feeling that comes over you of, is this for real? And so I guess that's what I mean when I say I was stunned.
And Robert, you probably had that feeling the next morning when you woke up.
I did. I did. But it wasn't something that was a huge surprise, I think. A lot of it was, you could see the way that the campaign was structured. You could see how structured the Obama campaign was, how accessible it was for students, how accessible their literature was. I was doing door-to-door in Saginaw and Gratiot counties for the state senator that I work for, and we were seeing the same literature that they had on the Ferris campus. They were passing out. I mean, it was statewide, and that was a very accessible campaign. And the McCain campaign was just not there financially with their funding that they had to put towards the election, and also the infrastructure. So you could kind of see it coming down the pipe. Okay.
Kelsey, why do you think Senator Obama won?
Overall, we can relate to Senator Obama, or President-elect Obama as it is now. I was just watching Jay Leno the other night, and John McCain was the guest. And John McCain was making jokes, he was speaking candidly, he looked healthy, he looked rested. I could have believed anything this guy would have said. And I think that really when I look at the two, especially through the last 22 months of the campaign, I can trust what Obama's saying, even if it's you know, just the way he's saying it and the way he plays up the crowd. I feel like I can believe him. And McCain, I lost that over the last couple of months.
You know, did you hear his concession speech?
Beautiful.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It was very, it really touched me at one point when McCain made reference to Obama's grandmother, who had died just a few days before the election. They didn't get to see her grandson, you know, win. That's huge. That's really, and at the end when he said, Barack Obama is going to be my president. Wonderful stuff.
Okay. I'm guessing you got a different take on why he won.
I think that there were so many factors, but a lot of it was that electability. There's so many factors that play into that, you know, the charisma and the, and a lot of it was ideas. You know, there was a lot of people that knew that we needed a different direction after 8 years of a Bush presidency, and after especially a lot of the situations that have come up that aren't necessarily the fault of President Bush, but, you know, he's been a victim of the times, I think, with a lot of these things, and so America was looking for a new direction. Obviously, the economy is failing, and a lot of it, that became really real for a lot of people, especially students. You know, you see the gas prices, you see a lot of these things, you know, you don't have as much money, you don't have a job opportunity. These are all things that are very real for students, and so they were looking for an outlet. They were looking for that person that inspired them with a fresh face, with that charisma, with new ideas, something that was different from status quo right now. I think he was the candidate that was able to distance himself from the current administration the best.
Okay. You noticed that President Bush was hardly seen during the latter stages of the campaign. Did that embarrass you at all as a Republican?
No, I don't. I think that there's different visions. I think that the Republican Party is going through a lot of different phases right now. They're trying to figure out where they stand. You have President Bush, who's more of a compassionate conservative and not necessarily as strong on the economy issues and that sort of thing. And there's a lot of different candidates out there that they have their different strong points. And so, you know, for John McCain to distance himself from President Bush, especially with the approval ratings and that sort of thing that were playing into that, it wasn't surprising to me.
Okay. Cornell, why do you think then Senator Obama won the election?
Well, as I said last night at our other panel, he was able to energize people and inspire them. And then not only was he able to energize them, he was able to mobilize people to actually get out and vote. My sister called me on the day of the election, and she said, "Carnell, you're not going to believe this. There are people in our neighborhood who I have not seen in years, and they're at the polls. There are people who I didn't even know had an address, and they're at the polls, and they're voting. There are people who I didn't know knew anything about politics, and they're at the polls." Another thing was that Wednesday morning, when I got a chance to check my voicemail, what I heard on the voicemail was, "Hi, I'm Barack Obama, and you have 3 hours left to vote in Michigan." He was able to use technology in a way that I think we have not seen any candidates able to use technology like Facebook, like the telephone, like MySpace, like other sources of communication that I think John McCain wasn't able to use. Then here's the next thing. I don't think any Republican candidate could have gotten elected this year, not given the fact that they had to stand in the shadows of Bush, even though Bush wasn't there physically. I think it's fresh in our minds of, first of all, what happened 8 years ago in the 2000 election, and I'm not here to debate that because we could be here all day. But also, as Robbie said, the economy failing, the gas prices soaring, and people's, you know, just lost sense of hope. And so I don't, even if Mitt Romney had been the nominee, I still think the results would have been the same. If John McCain hadn't had to stand in the shadows of Bush, then I think the election would have been a little bit tighter.
Well, certainly Senator McCain has a compelling story, you know, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, prisoner of war.
Absolutely.
He's done some things that I think objectively you could call would be the things a maverick would do, you know?
But, you know, I think, Dr. Pilgrim, he lost himself in this election. I think he went through a humongous identity crisis of who he was because he was listening to some of his staffers and aides saying, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I think he just kind of lost who he was until that concession speech.
Which is sort of ironic. Well, I think we could all agree that this election was nasty. I think some of the nastiness started during the Democratic primary, to be honest with you.
Yes.
I think you know I collect evil objects.
Yes.
And speaking of the objects related to Senator Obama, there are objects that portray him as the Antichrist, that question his sexual orientation, that question whether or not he's Muslim, whether or not he's a terrorist, whether or not he's a communist. I mean, just pretty much every group that Americans have had a problem with, someone tried to pin that label on him. And it was a level of nastiness, again, that started during the Democratic primary, but certainly extended into the general election. What I have to ask you now, and let's cut to the chase, did any of that nastiness come to Big Rapids? More specifically, did any of that nastiness come to Ferris State University?
I think that it was more of a national trend. I mean, we talked about this again last night, that a lot of it was, I mean, there's yard signs getting pulled out everywhere, and that's a person's opinion. You know, they're
and it's their property, too.
It's their property, and they're making that decision that, you know, they would like to vocalize or to visualize their support for that candidate, and so they put that out there. And for somebody to take that and, you know, signs going missing, it was outrageous. I mean, we had tons and tons of signs at the headquarters downtown, and people would come in all the time saying, my sign was stolen, my sign was stolen. And there's even a gentleman on the news that had set up a electric fence system on his sign to protect him. I mean, that's wow. the point that it got to. You know, the people are stealing their signs, and it's just, that was a level of nastiness that I didn't care for myself. You know, that it just got, it was somebody's personal choice, and people are infringing on that.